Bev, I can take the roll call if you'd like.
Great.
Gwen DeBod? No. Bev Bates?
Yes.
Richard Abuza?
Yes.
Hannah Schaefer?
Yes.
Gordon Shaw?
Here.
Ben Wood? No. And Spencer Gazy Bates. Looks like Gwen is joining us hopefully now. So you do have quorum, and yeah, we can. Next item on the agenda would be the public comments, if there's any public comments.
Yeah, Ben.
Great, thanks. Mostly I'm just here to listen. I'm excited to see Bill Waldorf here as a guest, and I just also wanted to say thank you for the housing forum from a week or two ago. That was great. I'm so glad I was able to go and check it out. I learned so much at that forum. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for that, and I'm just gonna listen.
That was the Wayfinders one, right? In Springfield? They
No.
did
This was
Oh,
here.
this is the Northampton
The
one.
Northampton one, yeah, with Valley CDC and a couple other folks presenting, and yeah, and learned a lot. So thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was a little bit late. I got a new computer, so I was having trouble signing in.
Yeah, Gwen, I did ask Bev to facilitate. If you want to take over that role, you can. Otherwise,
I'm happy to have you facilitate.
Okay, you want me to take over, Bev?
Yeah, we haven't gotten very far. We have a quorum. We did the roll
Okay.
call.
Okay,
and we just did public
Heard
comment.
from Benjamin, excuse me.
okay, so Benjamin, you did the roll call?
No,
He made
Okay.
public comment.
And we did public comment, okay. And so I will pick up now at this point. We just did public comment, and then we have minutes to approve from July 7th, August 4th, and September 8th, 2025. So I guess we'll just do each one at a time. So the July 7th minutes. Can I get a motion to approve July 7th minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Get a second?
All second.
Thanks. Okay, so we will do a roll call on that. Bev Bates,
aye. Yes,
Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Hannah Schaefer,
Yes.
Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Ben Wood,
Not present.
Not
Okay.
present.
Spencer Gazy Bates,
Not present.
okay, and Gwen DeBod, yes. So that's July. And then we have August 4th minutes to approve, and so could I get a motion for that?
I'll motion to approve those as well.
Thank you. In a second,
All second.
thanks. So we'll take a roll call on that. Bev Bates,
aye.
Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Hannah Schaefer,
Yes.
Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Ben Wood, Spencer Gazy Bates,
They're not here.
Gwen DeBod, yes. Okay. So August 4th passes and September 8th. So I'll need a motion for that. Motion to approve September 8th.
I'll move for that one too.
Thanks. And a
I'll
second.
second it.
Thank you. Okay, and then Bev Bates,
I was not in attendance. I've never really understood the protocol, but I think I'll abstain.
okay. thanks. Hannah Schaefer,
Approve?
okay. Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Ben, okay, and Spencer, and Gwen Dabad, yes.
And you forgot me, yes.
And Richard Abuza, yes. Okay, so we have September 8th approved. And with that, I think we have a discussion or presentation with Valley CDC request for Community Preservation Act funds. And so with that, I'll pass it over.
Thanks, Gordon. Keith, let me know if you want to interject at all. Otherwise I'll
Yeah.
share my screen. And let me know if you can see it. Well, at first I want to thank everybody in the partnership for having me here today. I did meet with folks maybe a couple years ago on the project, and I do see some new faces, and I think the project is a really exciting one, and I think it has been undershadowed, I guess, in the city for a bit, and I'm here to give people kind of a refresher on the project, and really take comments and questions from the partnership, and see how we can strengthen the project, and I think just to really get everybody's eyes on it ahead of the CPA presentation. So thank you for that opportunity. So the project site is 27 Crafts Ave. It is located right downtown. It was carved off from formerly city-owned property behind City Hall and abutting the City Hall Annex. Kind of really offers a really stellar choice of mobility, offering enhanced walkable access to retail and businesses, but bike access, and then the transit center is conveniently located across the street. We have Joan Whitsett as our architect, and Stevens and Associates as the site designer. The outline of the site is over here. Actually, everybody that I show the site to is very surprised that a building can fit there, and I mean, we are still to this day surprised. But it does work. We've done the math on it, and to give just kind of a very rudimentary example, in yellow, here's the outline. So this really was an inception coming out of the many years ago now, the homeless crisis in Northampton, and kind of the intersection of climate resilience in that. There was a period of I don't know if it was a few different summers, but there was floods that were wiping out homeless encampments around Northampton. So this is kind of where there were solutions that came out of this study that was done many years ago from the prior mayor. And one of them was building affordable housing, but taking city-owned land and going a competitive RFP process. So that RFP process got approved through City Council. Valley CDC put in an application and was awarded the lot. We purchased it in 2023. Or 2022 rather, but that was, or 2022 was when the RFP was released. We closed on it later that year in 2023. So what was a part of that RFP? So it was a lot of different things. So the first one was the project design had to meet passive house standards, could not use fossil fuels. We must create a minimum of 20 apartments, and the majority of those being for currently unhoused individuals. And the remainder of the units are going to be 60% AMI. And there is a kind of, we did transfer the property for $1, and there's a stipulation there if we it eventually reverts back to the city. But there's a lot of really key benefits of this project that during 2023 to 2024, we met with a variety of different organizations such as the Downtown Business Association. We've met with abutting businesses, and really the cornerstone of this is that it takes a parcel that wasn't otherwise producing any tax revenue. It puts it onto the tax rolls. It also removes really this like concrete staircase and retaining wall that the city knows is going to be a liability in the next decade. And instead of investing city funds to rebuild it, we will actually create the foundation of the building, kind of acting as that retaining wall. So it's kind of, we're getting a little bit of both on the city, where you're going to get the taxes coming from the property, but also a reduced need of capital expenditures. Plus, it creates affordable housing. That's obviously the cornerstone of the project. But we believe that by providing downtown housing, we're going to provide residents with more disposable income to use on retail businesses, but also potential employees for those retail businesses as well. And doing that in a mindful, sustainable manner. So out of the 30 apartments we are proposing on this site, 20 would be at what they call extremely low income at 30% AMI with a homeless preference. The other 10 will be self-pay 60% AMI apartments. There will be 5 fully accessible apartments, with the remainder being visitable. And there will be a few different Department of Mental Health apartments as well. Massing was really thought out. I actually spent a good couple years going through the form of the building, trying to maximize the units on the building while adhering to form-based zoning code. So this is kind of the evolution of the massing in I would say over multiple months, but the lot itself was really carved out for the footprint of the building. So it was kind of an integral aspect. We actually did the surveying work afterwards, and there's a lot of thought that came into the design. It is tall, but because of the grade change, kind of emulates a 4-story building next to a 5-story building, even though in reality it's a 6-story building. Just by the grade change, that technically is the 6th floor, and that's the first, but it doesn't read like that. And it was really important for us to make sure that the top of the building doesn't overshadow any of the historically significant parts of the city, such as the City Hall. You can see a view from Main Street looking down on Crafts Ave. Here's further down the street. And then here's the view from the south, looking from Old New South Street up Crafts Ave. You see Provisions, or formerly Provisions, to the right. So here's that site. Here's the building footprint. Our goal is to produce no permanent loss in public parking, providing a new accessible walkway, looking to collaborate with the annex building on a dumpster enclosure, bike storage inside. There is a loss of some city parking spots, but those spots, as I've been told, have been relocated to kind of what I'm going to call more ample parking in close proximity to the site, over by Roundhouse Plaza. Here's the floor plans, and if you have a really good eye, you can probably start spotting some of the characteristics of the building. But I'll give you kind of an overarching design. That the first floor, there's no apartments. It's generally all office and amenity space, with the back of the building that is kind of like what I'm going to call a cave. It's embanked into the hillside. That's where a lot of our mechanical equipment will go. On the upper floors, there'll be studio apartments with some circulation space. There'll be an amenity kind of tenant area with a roof space. And I think a real reason for this was there's not much site work, or there's not much site space. So we want to provide residents with some access to the outdoors, and this was the solution for that. There's laundry on each floor. So there's a lot of kind of characteristics of the building that you would see in a modern mid-rise. The layouts are bigger than what we've done in the past for studios. We wanted to give them at least some space. We understand that you can fit a lot in a small footprint, and we always try to maximize units, but there's been a lot more of an emphasis on making really functional spaces. So really trying to balance that need and hit a really good layout. The other big characteristic of this project is we'll be providing a lot of on-site services, a lot of different community functions, but also on-site property management. And we'll be doing that largely on the first floor. This is really the big updates from the last time we all met. I did go in for CPA funding in 2024. And basically where I kind of mentioned my reasoning on this was it would allow us to then go in for state applications later on. And I'm happy to report back that because of that local support, we actually were able to secure additional state funds through the Department of Energy Resources, and also have submitted a federal home loan bank application as well. So it's definitely, the strategy that I originally told to the CPA committee was, give us a little bit now, we can leverage that to get some state funds. And then when we're ready to go in for the big state funding round in February of 2026, then we can go and request the remainder of the local support that we budgeted initially when we approached them a few years ago. And I think they really took appreciation to that, to be able to kind of, understand we're coming in, understanding we're mindful of the resources and the timing of them. So we do have site control. We do have the zoning permit. We have 90% construction ready plans. So we really think this is a great project for the state to pick up in the 2026 funding round. We understand the state resources are extremely tight right now. They've been tighter than ever. I think we just got off a couple calls where the big overarching thing is you will be disappointed in which projects get funded. But we're optimistic that the city of Northampton has been a big ally of this project from the very beginning, showing the donation of the land, helping us raise funds for the architecture and engineering, some pre-development funds through CDBG, and now the CPA ask. And I think that'll really be what makes or breaks this project in the state funding round, is the local support. And this is what we're going to anticipate as steps coming out of this, is going to be there's a supportive service round, which is generally where we get our some of our operating funds that are necessary to support the services on site. But then the big state funding round, which will be around February and March. If all goes as planned, we would look to start construction in early 2027 and complete that year. It's going to be a very challenging construction project, but we've started working together with Al Groney, who has done a successful project for us in Northampton, and shows a very mindful approach to site logistics. And we're excited to kind of start that relationship ahead of this construction, so we can get a really robust strategy for how to manage the site logistics on a really complex downtown environment. If all works itself out, we would be moving in residence in early to the middle of 2028, which seems far away, but so did 2025 when we originally presented to everybody and closed on the property. So time has been going, and this project really is the next one in Valley CDC's hopper, and I think a really needed project here in the downtown. And here's kind of the CPA ask. So we're going in for $600,000. We've already been awarded the 200 earlier that helped us leverage some additional state funds. The total local support is going to be about 3% of the development budget from the CPA committee. There's a lot of state resources, and as we leverage state resources, they really like to see the local support. So I guess this is kind of the presentation that I have, and I did want to keep it more of a dialogue with the rest of the partnership. And so I'm kind of going to pause here, and I can kind of flip around through the presentation as it's necessary. And Keith, you can let me know if you want to facilitate that next part of the meeting.
Yeah, it'll be Gwen, but happy to answer questions as well.
Or does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Bev.
A couple of just clarifying questions. There's no project-based rental assistance here, right? So your rents are set at 30 and 60% of median respectively?
There will be. So the 20 apartments will be a mix of Section 8s through the state, Massachusetts vouchers, and then I think we will have a shortfall of vouchers. So we actually we were told very recently that we can only get maybe 16 total vouchers for the project when we need 20.
Right.
We'll be trying to approach the Northampton housing authority about some vouchers for the project, or trying to consider VASH vouchers as well. But that's kind of where we're at, is there would be a need for 4 more additional rental project-based vouchers.
Right.
I thought you were a miracle worker, figuring out how to make those numbers work. The other quick question is on the resident services. The funding you were alluding to, I'm not terribly familiar with. Is that annual funding, or do they do a multi-year commitment? And how much staffing do you imagine being able to support for, again, 30
Yeah.
units?
Yeah, so I mean, the short answer is we're figuring it out, but I think the MRVP vouchers, the mass vouchers, the operating subsidy that we would be applying for is an annual one for the contract term, which would be usually a 15 to 20-year contract.
Yep.
It's not a lot of money, but it's enough to like help, bridge some of the deficits. We would capitalize a lot of different reserves for services for the first 15 years of the project. And that's a part of the development budget. And then we would be having a half time, like a 0.5 equivalent resident service coordinator who kind of circuit ride between another Northampton property. And then we would actually try to supplement that with CSO who are working for MOU to help provide some additional services in a kind of a clinical capacity, while the resident service coordinator would be more of like a community based kind of liaison. So we're going to kind of look at it from a few different angles. I think the CSO one is still very kind of nascent right now, and it's set up because it is a challenging time right now to be doing supportive housing. There's not a lot of money for it. But we are budgeting at least a part, like a 50% full-time equivalent resident service coordinator on site here.
Thank you. Great project.
Thanks, Beth.
Okay. Thanks. Bill, anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I would like to comment that I think it's, a project that meets a lot of needs and is in a strategic spot. I know it's, a little startling to think of it there, but I think in the long run, it's going to be a good asset to the community. And I would strongly encourage us to make a motion of support to the CPC that this 600K get funded, and I'd be happy to make a motion to that effect.
Thanks, Richard. Does anybody want to second Richard's motion?
I'll second.
Great, so let me take a roll call. Bev Bates,
Yes.
Hannah Schaefer,
Yep.
Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Gwen Bad. Yes. Did I forget anyone? No. Okay. So we will happily support that and write a letter or whatever it takes. I would just like to comment and just say, I'm so happy to be hearing about this project. And I'm really happy that you were able to incorporate some outdoor space, some of that into the design. One thing I didn't notice, and I'm a little curious about, is there cooking inside of this building? Are there like kitchen spaces or things like that?
Yeah, they'll be full studio apartments. So I know we've done in the past some forms of single room occupancy, enhanced single room occupancy. This will be a true studio apartment with a full
Okay.
kitchen. Yep.
Great. And I think that's really my only question.
Yeah, and there's a lot to this project, and if folks are still interested, the CPA presentation is coming up, and I can probably get you that date too. If I
Okay.
look around a little bit, but we'll do another deep dive into the project at that point. And I thank the partnership for the time to go, listen to me and listen to this project. It's something that Valley's been working on for at least 3 years now, and
Yeah.
still has many years left on it before it's
Right.
through. It's these things take time, so
Yes,
we appreciate the ongoing support.
thank you. I think so many of us are thinking that we've moved on so quickly from the COVID and we forget what we learned during those times. And so this is taking time, but it's something that we know that we need, and it's a demonstrated need. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'm going to move on to the next order of business, which is to review ordinance 25.315, an ordinance permitting residential conversion of existing non-conforming historic accessory structures. And is there someone here to present on that?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, President Jarrett. And so we will allow you to present.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be back with another ordinance. And this ordinance, it was written by Councilor Marissa Elkins and I in consultation with the Planning Department, Carolyn Mish and Sarah LaValle. We brought it also to the Historical Commission last week. And so the basic idea is that it adds more flexibility to convert historic accessory structures to residential use. So it would allow conversion of these structures that are built in 1975 or earlier, even if they're outside of the normal required setback for residential uses. There's a couple of goals here. First, it's to encourage the preservation of historic structures. This is an established goal of our sustainable Northampton plan. And these accessory structures, carriage houses, barns, other residential outbuildings, they show the history and of the history of travel, of neighborhood development, everyday life, but they are also not always well kept up. There's not always a use for them. They, require significant time and money to maintain. So adding this additional use that can bring in revenue for the owner makes them more likely to be preserved. So that's one element, historic structures preservation. And the second is to encourage the development of new housing that reduces demolition and the loss of green space. So, and we argue that the redevelopment of these structures in these residential zoning districts is also consistent with the Sustainable Northampton Plan and promotes a compact development pattern, which lowers per household carbon footprint, allows for more walkable, cyclable, public transit accessible neighborhoods. It also has a few guardrails in it. It doesn't allow any expansion in the setback area. Expansion would only be allowed within the regular by right building area. It states that key character defining features shall be preserved to the extent feasible. We spent a while talking about that at the Historical Commission, and Sarah LaValle spoke to the ways that the planning board will be able to consult with the Historical Commission, because this is a task that now the planning board will have to enforce. I should say that all of these, this is not you do need to come to before the planning board to for approval. So there's a site plan review, and as part of that process, they will be looking at all of the requirements, including preserving the character defining features. In consultation with the Historical Commission. The building height is limited. It's to the maximum height of accessory structures, which is 20 feet in all these districts, or the current building height. We don't want you to have to lower an existing building. And then all of the additions, any additions to the original building since 1975 would have to be fully permitted, inspected, and at least 70% of the footprint must have been built by during or before 1975. And I should also add that all the building and fire codes must also be followed. So that may actually limit options in some of these if buildings are too close together. So yeah, we received a positive recommendation from the Historical Commission last week, and would love to have a discussion here, hear your thoughts, and hopefully a positive recommendation.
Great, thank you so much. So does anyone have a question? Go ahead, Richard.
Have you done an inventory or have any sense of how many structures might fall under this category?
Yeah, we have, and we actually had to for legal reasons, because so many of us either have one of these on our property or live next door to someone who does. And that's a conflict of interest. However, so we had to do a a study to determine that at least 10% of the population shares this conflict of interest with those of us on the council, the mayor, the planning, employed by the planning department, etc. So that is the case. It was some 20%, and there are 900, some approximately, structures in these residential zones.
Any particular neighborhoods that they're centered on? Anything?
I'm not sure of the the census, but I would imagine that it would be the denser you get. So the URC district would probably have more, and then the URB district going down to suburban residential and rural residential that would just be my impression.
No, I'm just wondering if there's particular neighborhoods that might already feel stressed that have a preponderance of these, you know, the Holly street area, you know, that's had some issues with development.
You mean conversions that can already be done by right, meaning they are not within the setback that have been
No, I'm talking
converted to
about the
residential use.
non-conforming historic ones that would not be entitled.
Church?
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean, but meaning they're stressed because there's already conversion that's happened.
No, they're stressed because they're unhappy about previous policy decisions that have affected housing in their existing neighborhoods. Just trying to get a sense of where there might be opposition and what this.
Yeah. Well, I think the opposition is most likely to come from people who live next door to them who do not want housing that is too close, that they would consider too close to the property line. But there are many people that live, have these who would like to have housing and can't, even though in many cases there are some of these have already been converted to studios. In some cases, they've been converted, and it's simply the regulation that disallows someone from living in them. But or in fact, what they have to do is they have to connect that building with their principal structure. And if they do that, even with like a walkway, then it's permitted. So we don't want people to have to go through that expense and to be able to build housing that's very much needed.
Okay, I have a question. If a developer were, so I mean, I'm thinking of like the church, in Holly. so, you know, so is that an example of a historic building that could now maybe do some affordable units or some units? Because we're doing this right now. And then the next question is, if a developer wanted to tap into the Community Preservation Committee for CPA funding, would it be under historical or would it be under the housing, or both? Or can they take both? I don't know if they can.
So this would not apply to situations like that, like a historic church or that's a principal structure, that's its own its own thing. This is where you have an accessory structure, a garage, a carriage house, a barn, and you want to convert that. I don't see this being used by developers. I see this being used by homeowners
Okay,
who want to add housing to their, but find it either space wise, it's too difficult to fit something else in, or that they would have to tear down a structure like this in order to fit something like this in. So that's the first question. The second one, could CPA be used? Certainly CPA could be used if affordable housing was being created. Uh, I'm, we don't, that's not, usually we see a nonprofit developer, Habitat for Humanity, Valley CDC, etc., that's creating this affordable housing. It's difficult as, it would be difficult as an individual to, um, go through the regulations. Now, if we had a functioning community land trust in Northampton, that's a possibility where it would be much easier to set up and that this could be used to help fund affordable housing. But yeah, and the historic structures for CPA, I'm not sure. That would be a question for Sarah Valley that uh, if it was deed restricted, I mean, if it was a historic deed restriction,
yeah,
then and it met the criteria, which is a little more strict than the criteria we've established here. I believe it's in the 1940s or earlier, and has so that would be required.
okay. And then I'm also thinking, there's also, I was just reading about a couple of ADUs that were able to get finished further west recently, that they got a lot of support from the home modification program, which I think small landlords and it's not being used very much. So I wonder if that type of money could help too, if it was going to be affordable. So that wasn't so much a question, but
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
okay. All right. Hannah.
Yeah. My question, Alex, is, I mean, I love the idea. One place that my mind goes is to like sort of potential like opportunism of somebody who wants to rent out a space, that they've had on their property. I mean, I know that it sounds like there's a pretty rigorous process to make sure that something is going to be up to code. I know that sometimes I see listings for like apartments that barely pass as apartments. I'm wondering, like, I don't know that much about kind of minimum viable, like what makes a minimum viable ADU that you can live in. Do you feel pretty good about uh, like what sort of the qualifications are? Does that make sense?
In terms of,
Yeah, I mean, anything that goes through this process is going to meet minimum housing standards as well as our zoning codes, building codes, fire codes, etc. I would be more concerned, and I know of several of these that at least have operated until they were shut down, where someone fixes up their historic or their structure, their accessory structure, and rents it out.
Yeah.
And they didn't get permits, they didn't meet the fire codes, and fortunately they were shut down from doing that because these codes are in place for a reason. So I would hope that this would provide a path for these structures or these conversions, which there is clearly demand for, provide a path to be done in a code compliant manner.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
Okay. Anybody else? And so with that, I think we're going to need to take a vote. Um,
We need a motion.
yeah, motion. Yes, thank you.
I'll make a motion if you want.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
the
And
Northampton Housing Partnership recognizes that the proposed ordinance permitting residential conversion of existing non-conforming structures could fill an important housing need and do it in a thoughtful and safe manner, and we express our wholehearted support for the proposed ordinance.
okay, thank you.
Well said. I'll second that.
All right, so we'll take a vote. Hannah Schaefer,
Yes.
Gordon Shaw,
Yes.
Bev Bates,
Yes.
Richard Abuza,
Yes.
Gwen Nabad, yes. And so that is approved. Ordinance 25.315, an ordinance permitting residential conversion of existing non-conforming historic accessory structures.
Great, thank you so much. And the next step is there will be a public hearing this Thursday, the Planning Board and Legislative Matters at 7 p.m. Of course, if any of you are able to attend, we would love to hear from you all then. And please spread the word.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Alex, is that just on Zoom or Zoom and in person?
Zoom and in person, City
Great.
Council chambers.
Thank you.
Great. Thursday it is. Okay. We will move on to the next thing, which is a recap on the housing forum. I don't know if you want to put stuff out there, Keith, or if anybody.
Oh, excuse me. I think Gwen, you were the only one attend. I was doing childcare, but from what I gathered from what you said and what Carolyn said, there's a good turnout. About 35 people in person.
Yeah.
Maybe half that on Zoom. So the room was pretty packed.
Yeah.
But I think it sounded like from the tenor of the conversation it was good and seemed like some of the themes were very similar to what we had last time.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah.
I'll let you get any more details about that.
Sure. So yeah, it was a pretty good turnout, and I was really happy to see such a great turnout. As Keith said, there were people that came in person, and then there were people that came on Zoom. We didn't hear anything that we don't already know. I think, in general, it's just about the cost of building right now, and just a variety of just different challenges that are not just local, but just, coming from across the nation, and then, catching on here in our state, and just especially in our locality. I think Northampton is doing a really great job on producing more low and moderate income housing, and housing in general, supporting housing. It's just that, especially for the affordable housing, there was some talk about the time and how long it takes, from beginning to end, as Bill was just talking about. It just comes from a lot of different funding resources. Some people express some concern that with the new administration that we'll have to, not have as much affordable housing being built, but amazingly, in a bipartisan way, the government is continuing to support the production of affordable housing. There was a lot of talk by Jeff from Spirito Builders about the use of mass timber, which is a sustainable way to build buildings. I had to learn a little bit more about it after the presentation. So it's basically like super strong pressed wood that's really, really strong, and it's less expensive than using steel or other kinds of metal. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything like that.
If you've ever been to the UMass Design Building on campus, that is all, I think it's CLT, compressed laminated timber.
Okay.
So that's a really good example, and the structures are open, so you can see them.
Right.
And it's actually almost more better for fire because steel collapses when it gets hot, but you get
Right.
burn through all that wood. So for a residential building, it's actually very safe for even fire, even though it's wood.
Okay.
Hey, Gwen,
Yes.
I'm curious if there was any commentary from developers or others about things that the city is doing now, both as a policy and a, sort of community way to either make it harder or perhaps easier to build affordable housing.
So, in terms of zoning or ordinances or how the city is doing in terms of like, enabling building of houses and things like that, affordable housing. I know that we're doing as much as we can and know how to do in terms of like streamlining things, but there was also a discussion about one of my questions was Governor Healy just said, okay, we're going to remove a lot of these barriers. And so we're going to remove some of these protections to speed up the production of housing. And I wanted to know, is that going to help us here in Northampton? Not necessarily. Northampton is a climate conscious city. So, that would be one of the things that we would have to compromise on if we were to, I don't know, like, maybe build on wetlands or something, or things like that. I think we should always be looking for ways to streamline things for builders, but in terms of the hugest barrier, it's just the cost of building tariffs and things like that. So it doesn't mean we can't still be thinking about it, looking at it, but there was nothing specifically mentioned that I can recall.
Thanks.
Okay. With that, I will, as long as nobody has any more questions, I'll move on to the next thing. So I did do a little slideshow. I created a little slideshow, and if I can share, I can present that.
Should be all set now.
Okay, let's see. Share, and let me bring up my screen. Oh, geez, I gotta. Share. Okay, so this is just really quick. So this was just a quick little thing that I did a couple of months ago, just in terms of weatherization and fuel assistance. I wanted to at least get this information out before it gets too cold. So I gathered some information about the Mass Save Landlord program. The Mass Save Landlord program is for landlords with 1 to 4 units, so it's for small landlords. And so Mass Save can do no-cost energy assessments. They can provide 100% off of insulation upgrades for a little time, or 75% off if not all units are going to be done, and or if they are going to be done. And I just also I added, just a link for people if they want to. Okay, this isn't working very well. And as well, Mass Save can do no-cost air sealing for drafts, and they also offer rebates on efficient appliances, Energy Star good appliances, water heating and cooling equipment, and also heating system upgrades. And they may be continuing, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure they offer grants up to $5,000 for safety issues to update old knob and tube wiring in old homes. So I thought that was pretty good. And then also I did a little search on Community Action Pioneer Valley. So community resources and advocacy program helps people to apply for fuel assistance. They also offer some small amount of help for rental assistance and utility assistance if someone is in a crisis. And so the phone number I just put right here. And then also another resource for fuel assistance for heating is the Good Neighbor Energy Fund, which is through the Salvation Army in Springfield. And I just did a slide with the income levels. So for a 1-person household, a person could make up to $65,595 a year and still be eligible for some amount of fuel assistance. And then it goes up from there, depending on how many people you have in the family. And then this is passed, but I'm not sure if this was heard in the state legislature or not, or how it ended up, but S959 and H1495, and the deadline for written testimony was September 25th. And it was to hopefully provide energy assistance during the summer months. So that was it. And Hannah, I want to acknowledge that I got your information today. And so I can, if you want, I can, send little bits of information if there was something in mind that wasn't in the pamphlet that you made. And yeah, so I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything like that, but I am wondering if we can put this into the minutes. When you do the minutes, just so.
Yeah, send
people
it my way, please.
Okay.
Lynn, that was great that you put this together, but you're missing probably the most important financial resource in the area,
I
which
am.
is the RAFT program, which is run through Wayfinders.
True, yes.
It does help with rent and utilities, and I know for the agencies that you did list, they will ask you to exhaust your RAFT assistance before you apply for assistance, like from Community Action or Valley Opportunity Council. I'm not sure
okay.
about Salvation, but I would expect they would do the same. It's to help people who have exhausted RAFT. RAFT pays up to $7,000 of rent for unsubsidized tenancies in a
Okay.
year to help you pay your rent. And it can be
Great.
used for
Thank you
moving.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize. I know it can be used for moving and for down payments and stuff like that, but I didn't know it could be used exclusively for utilities. So now that I know that, I'll definitely add it. Thank you
And
so
back
much.
rent and to help keep you housed.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Anything else? No, okay. Um, okay, and then I'm wondering if there's any other business not otherwise anticipated. Hannah, maybe you could mention, yeah.
Yeah, sorry that I didn't get it sooner, but I had just shared with Gwen and with Keith a draft list of links that could go into the housing and housing assistance pamphlet. So I just shared it in a Google Doc. I'm okay waiting a month if that makes sense. I mean, it's just a few pages of links to local organizations, and my questions for the partnership would be, is there anything that's missing that should be added or anything that should be removed? Because I did add a few things that weren't
Did you
like,
just distribute it? You said,
I had sent an
can you send
email
it out
just to
via
Gwen and
email?
Keith. I wasn't sure if I could send it out to
Okay.
everybody. So I'm not sure what the next steps are in sharing that and getting feedback.
Okay, yeah, so I think you can send it to everyone.
Okay.
And if you send it to everyone in one email, just nobody can hit reply all.
Okay.
They can respond to you individually. And I guess another question I have is, can you make the document so that we can comment on it maybe? So that we have access to comment, and is it okay to comment?
It's probably better not to comment on the document. I would take notes. It's just, I would take notes on your own computer and then we can come back and deal with it then.
Okay. So Hannah, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong what we're not doing. We're not taking any official action on what it is we're producing. I think that we're just putting together a resource list, and I think that doesn't really violate a open meeting law to just share information that we have, and then if we want to take some formal action on what we're going to do with that, then I think that would be subject to open meeting. We
Sure.
can vote on it.
All right. Listen to the attorney. Okay. I should.
Okay, so commenting is okay, even if potentially somebody said, I think this should be added, and somebody else said, I think this should be removed. That's not like deliberating.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't think we need to overthink this. I mean, we're
Okay.
just suggesting, here's some additional,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. Here's some other sites
Great.
you might want to
Great.
Sure.
include. I
Okay,
don't even anticipate removing anything. I'm just looking at it. This is my world. So I probably will have some thoughts for you about what could be included.
great. I will share that then, and I will allow commenting, and then potentially, depending on how much feedback I get, by the time we reconvene next month, I can make like a nicer looking version that then people can give feedback on the design. So I will share that right after we get out of the meeting.
Great, great. And so we will anticipate that for next month's agenda. And I'm wondering if anybody else has anything to add or anything unexpected or like any announcements or anything, or no? Okay, and so with that, we have one final request for a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Get a second?
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Okay, great. All right,
Bye.
everybody, have a good night.
See you next month. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.